Hello and welcome everybody. This is a verbing class. My name is Teacher Amy and today's class is a reading class. So if you would like to come and practice your reading or pronunciation and learn some new vocab, our topic today is 3D printing and how it might relate to travel in the future. So travel is something I think that we probably all think about because we're learning another language. And 3D printing is something that's kind of interesting new technology which has the ability to change quite a lot of stuff. So it's an interesting article. Come on in with us and practice your pronunciation, reading, and improve your vocab. Before we get started, let's take a look at some pages that can help you and get more out of your time with verbling. So the first one here is my Facebook page. You can click on that and go and connect with me informally. You can have the teachers from Verbling status updates appear in your Facebook news feed so you can keep your eye on English learning all the time. And if you want to find out a little bit more about a particular teacher or a little bit more about how the teachers' schedules or what's going on really, then do check out the teacher Verbling teacher pages. So the link to my one is there for you in the chat box, and if you go ahead and check that out, what you'll find is the schedules. So that's class upcoming classes and also private tutoring sessions. Go ahead and check those out if you want to. Write us a message if you have any questions. There's lots of stuff on there, so it's worth taking a look if you have time. Okay, let's see who we've got this morning or this evening, depending on where you are. To talk about 3D printing with us, and I better say hi to Amari first because you were here before anyone else. How are you?
Yes, teacher, I'm fine, and thank you for asking. You?
Oh, and I can't hear you, Amari. Have you unmuted your mic? Don't tell me I've got to have...
Sorry,
Oh,
can
dear.
you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Let me just... My settings are okay. This strange thing happened to me last week. Nope. Earlier in the week. I'm guessing that you can hear me okay, Amari, right?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh no. This is the opposite to what happened before. Okay, I'm gonna say, can anyone else just take off their mute and say hi to me and see if I can hear you?
Hello, Amy.
No. This is good.
Yes, I can hear everybody.
Alejandro, can you just say hi to me?
Yes, I can.
Me too.
Alright guys, I'm gonna have to do what I did before. I'm really sorry. I'm going to leave the class and come back and hope that works like it did last time. I will be right back. Please bear with me.
Hello?
Alejandro, the teacher will be back soon.
Yes, she has.
Yes.
Okay, I'm back. I'm wondering if anyone can hear me and if I can hear you guys. So, let's say hi to Carlos. Are you there, Carlos?
Hi, hi.
Yay, I can hear you. Honestly, I don't know what's going on with this, guys. I've had a weird week of technology. I'm so sorry. I refresh all my stuff before I start the class, but I don't know what goes on. But anyway, welcome to class, Carlos. How are you doing?
Fine, fine, thank you.
Excellent. Is your studying going all right? Has it been a good week so far?
Yes, yes, I have taken many classes here in Berlin.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that, Carlos. Well, welcome to this one. We're going to be doing some reading, so you can have a bit of reading practice for this hour.
Okay, thank you.
Who else do we have here? Raphael, how are you?
Hi, Amy.
Are you an avid traveller, Raphael? I can't remember if you've been to another country or not before.
No, I don't travel too much. Just when I have some work to do in another state.
Mm-hmm. Is that part of your, do you get paid to do that, or is that sort of extra work that you have to do on top of your job?
No, I'm paid. They paid all expenses.
All expenses paid, eh? Very exciting, Raphael. Do you get to go to any exciting places?
It depends. Not too much. No, it depends. Since they paid all expenses, sometimes they don't choose the best hotel and best things, best food, and they always look for the cheapest hotel and things to get lodging.
Yeah, I can imagine. And do you go by yourself, or do you go with another colleague, or?
Sometimes I go with another colleague, or sometimes I go on my own.
All
It
right.
it depends. It depends on the task. It depends on the activity I will perform.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. All right. Welcome to the class, Raphael. Who else do we have here? Alejandro, are you there?
Yes. Hello, teacher.
Excellent. And I can hear you this time. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Good. And what about you with travel, Alejandro? Do you travel a lot? Or not
I
at all?
like to travel, but I don't travel a lot.
Where are you from? Please remind me.
I'm from Spain.
That's right. So do you travel to neighboring countries or Europe, or where have you been in your travels?
Um, in Europe because it's cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one big advantage of Europe. It's actually quite small, but really diverse. So you can go to another country quite cheaply. That's one thing I really like about it. All right, welcome to the class, Alejandro.
Thank you, teacher.
Ala, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, teacher, for asking. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Ala. And nice to see you. And tell us
Mhm.
about your travel. Do you travel for work, or do you travel for leisure, or do you just stay at home?
Um, yeah, I travel for work mainly. Yeah, I work outside my home country, and it's fixed destinations to work and back to home country, like that.
And do you have any time for like any time off while you're away to explore or do anything else?
Uh, I mainly, you mean traveling?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mainly the vacations I spent the vacation home only.
with your family.
So yeah, I'm with family and then back to work. So fixed fixed travel, fixed destination.
Fixed destinations. All right. Well, it sounds a bit like Raphael.
Yeah.
Let's also say hi to Joseph. Hello, Joseph.
Hi,
Good to see you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. And we're talking about travel, Joseph, because we're going to read an article about 3D printing and how it's going to help, well, possibly help travel or travel-related things in the future. So I've just been asking everybody what kind of travel they do, if any. So are you a traveler?
Yes, I like to travel uh, but I travel only in my country.
You only travel in your country. And whereabouts have you been? Have you been all over it?
What did you say?
Have you been all over your country, like to every place that there is, or most of the places?
Yes, because of my job, I'm working in many regions in my country.
All right. Is that a
Many
part of the
cities.
job that you do you enjoy that part of your job?
Yes,
Excellent.
I like to travel and I like to spend most of the time away from home.
All right. So it sounds like you get to do that. That's a good job for you then, Joseph.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Um, Here is the link to our article for today in the chat box, and you can read along with me on the screen if you prefer. I'm going to zoom in so that we can see what we're going to read. All right. So this is the headline, and there's a nice little picture of a suitcase. But we're going to be talking about 3D printing a little bit. Does anybody know anything about 3D printing, first of all? What is it?
Yeah, teacher, I know a little about it.
Could you explain it to us, Allah, please?
Yeah, it's about producing products using some machines, new machines that cut whatever you want in a 3D shape. And actually, I use it in my job. Um, if you know the CAD CAM, did you hear about it?
No, I haven't. Can you explain it?
Yeah, it's something like that. It's something related to the 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
We are working in dentistry, so when we are making crowns or bridges for patients, now the trend is to do it chairside, not going to the lab and make it and the technician make it. No, we can make it chairside or in the clinic itself. Just take a picture for the prepared tooth or prepared teeth that we want to make a crowns on it, and
Mm-hmm.
we send this image to this machine, which is
Mm-hmm.
called CAD CAM, and it will cut or it will milling what you want or the shape of the tooth of the crown, and you receive it in maybe 30 minutes. You will receive your new crown as a patient.
Wow, that's amazing, Allah. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that was already happening. I did know that they were using it sort of in medicine a little bit, but
Yeah.
dentistry makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very useful, and you can control everything you want. As a dentist, I can control everything I want. I no more. I don't have to rely on the technician or to
Mm.
wait the technician. No, I will design it on the program as I want, as shape I want, and it will cut in a 3D form, and it will be ready immediately.
That just sounds really cool. It must be so much easier and better for you than having to
Yeah.
wait and work with other people who might get it wrong.
Yeah, very easy, but the problem, it's so expensive, the machine. So
Yeah.
expensive still. Mm.
Yeah, but the thing about technology generally is that it starts off really expensive and then it sort of gets cheaper as more and more people use it. So hopefully that will happen with this Allah as well.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for sharing that. Does anyone else have any experience with 3D printing?
Mm,
No? All right. Well, thank you, Allah, for giving us an introduction. We're going to start reading. So, I'm going to get started with Alejandro. Alejandro, could you read the title for us, please?
Yes. How 3D printing will change travel.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, obviously, we're talking about 3D printing in relation to this particular theme of travel. I'm just for those of you who haven't been to one of my reading classes before, just take your time and do your best with the pronunciation. There are some funny words in this, and hopefully we'll learn some new ones. And I'll stop you at some point so that we can discuss each section. So, whenever you're ready, Alejandro, if you could carry on from few advances.
Okay. Few advances in the manufacturing world have been as ballyhooed as 3D printing. After all you need is a 3D printer. The theory goes, and anything form an edible raspberry to a body part can be yours for the making.
Keep going.
Related article, could Google Glass
Ease.
Is air travel.
Great. And one more piece, please, Alejandro.
For travelers, the process seems particularly convenient. Why lug around an entire suitcase of items? For example, when you could simply print out what you need once you've arrived at your destination.
Great. Thank you, Alejandro. That was really wonderful reading. You took your time and pronounced everything really well. So there's a few words that were quite tricky for you. This one here is ballyhooed.
Ballyhooed.
It's not a very common one, that, so don't worry too much about it. This one here was ease.
Ease.
Yep. And then this one is actually items, not items, but items.
Items. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, does anyone have any questions about the vocabulary? First of all, do we understand what ballyhooed means?
I don't know.
Does anyone know, or can anybody guess? No. This is a very unusual word, but basically what it means is to talk about something in a way that sort of gets attention or makes people excited or interested about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other vocab questions from anybody?
I have one. Edible raspberry.
An edible raspberry. All right. Can anyone tell us what an edible raspberry is?
Edible raspberry.
No?
Raspberry is fruit.
Yeah. Raspberry is a fruit, exactly. What does edible mean?
Something you can eat.
Yeah, exactly. So basically it's saying that you can actually print out a raspberry and then eat it. So edible means something that you can eat. I find that hard to imagine. I'm guessing it's not a real raspberry. It must be like a candy raspberry or something. I have no idea. If you want to find out, click on it and let me know. But we're going to carry on reading and find out about the travel. So, Carlos, it's your turn. From That Was the Thinking.
Where is it?
This paragraph here. Can you see it?
Okay. That was the thinking of Jane Kittonen, the Finnish artist who designed the entire outfit, down to shoes and bag, all produced via 3D printer. That was shown in an exhibit called Lost Luggage in Rotterdam's Gallery Vivid this spring. If you feel like going to Paris, then you just leave and go. You don't have to go home and I think of what you're doing to pack, he said. It's like a futuristic dream world.
Great. Well done, Carlos. Great work. This word here is luggage.
Luggage.
Yeah. For some reason, it sounds like an I here, so we say idge, luggage. That's better, yeah. All right, so, interesting idea. Any vocab questions? No? I think this paragraph is relatively straightforward. So, what he says that Carlos has just read is, if you feel like going to Paris, then you just leave and go. You don't have to go home and think of what you're going to pack, he said. It's like a futuristic dream world. Okay, what do you guys think of this? Would you like this? When you're going on holiday, you don't have to pack, you just go. And then when you get there, you print out all the stuff you need. Does anyone like the sound of that?
If it comes to real, yeah, it's very interesting and very useful.
And they haven't mentioned the price a lot.
Yeah.
If it's free,
And
even better, right?
of course, but I think you have to afford the material also, because
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Teacher,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't understand the main idea of what is a 3D printer. It's the 3D printer makes things like in an original way. Or, I mean, it's totally the same that a thing that hasn't made with a 3D printer.
Okay, good question, Carlos. It's a weird concept. So basically, 3D is short for three-dimensional, right? So at the moment, generally, we only have two-dimensional printers, which basically means that you can print an image or a text on a flat piece of paper. But 3D means that you actually print something like an object, so an apple or a book. You can print the whole thing, so it looks like a printer. Some kind of computer program takes like a design, which is what Allah was talking about with the dentistry, and it prints in layers, I think, so that you start off with the bottom layer and then it builds up the layers until you have a 3D object. There's good things about it, Carlos, that, for instance, you can make everything exactly how you want it. So instead of manufacturing like 1,000 pairs of shoes that are exactly the same size and then having to do the next size up, you could technically print one pair of shoes that fits you perfectly, your feet, because you've taken a photo of your feet or something and produced the product, which sort of we say you can customize it or tailor make things. So do you understand the concept a bit better?
Yes, of course. Thank you for the response.
No problem. It's
Sure.
new, that's for sure.
Teacher, I
Yes,
think there is also many studies and research, advanced research in tissue regeneration. They are using this concept. They are now maybe planning to use it in organ production for organ transplantation, like that. Yeah, and maybe they will make whole organs like kidneys and like that. It's
So
biomedicine.
okay, thank you, Allah. So obviously, if you can make an organ, well, that brings up two issues. One, I mean, that would change the face of medicine, really, because if you needed an organ, you wouldn't have to wait for somebody else to die, which is pretty amazing. But
Yeah.
two, ethically, it's sort of a bit weird. So I don't know if any of you want to respond to that.
Mm.
No? Okay, let's keep on reading because it does bring up a couple of these things as we go through. It's Joseph, your turn to read here from currently.
Currently, doing such a futuristic thing would make little economic or practical sense. 3D printers remain costly. The cheapest start at about $500, as do materials which can cost from $50 to $500 per kilogram. Typical print printers can only print with one material at a time, which severely limits the variety of useful items that can be produced. Uploading, loading, or designing files can be daun- daunting daunting for the technological challenge, and the process is not instantaneous. It is still a manufacturing process. Printing an item can take hours.
Great. Thanks, Joseph. Okay, so 3 words I want to talk to you about, if I can find them. Here we go. Severely.
Barely.
Excellent. This one, you did it right in the end. Uploading.
Uploading.
And daunting.
Daunting.
Great. So do we know what this word daunting means? Does anybody know?
No.
Donated, like donated. Or...
Sorry, could you repeat that, Allah?
Is it the same as donated or?
No, donated, no. Nice try. Daunting means sort of overwhelming. So you could use that as a synonym. Uploading or designing files can be a bit overwhelming. It's like the job is so huge that you think, oh my goodness, it's a bit overwhelming or a bit daunting if you're not good at technology. All right, any other questions about vocab? All right, so can somebody maybe, Raphael, because we haven't heard from you for a little while, can you tell me what this has just told us are some of the disadvantages or the limitations of 3D printing?
The price and I think yes, and the variety, because we with the current printers we just can use one color, so it's very limiting so far.
Yes, it's very limited or limiting.
Limited. Limiting, okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so the price, both of the actual printer itself, Raphael, and of the material, right? So instead of using just ink, which we use at the moment, obviously you've got to use the material that your object is going to be made out of, so it could be anything. So that's 2 costs, and then also you can only use one material at a time. So the whole of your object has to be made out of just one material, which you can imagine is actually quite limiting. Because you try and think of an object that only is made out of one material, it's quite hard. All right, Raphael, could you continue with "It's not as simple," please?
It's not as simple as pressing a button and getting a product, said Bill Reeves, managing director of 3D printing consultancy, Economist. It is just another manufacturing technology, that's all. Yes, it's quite clever, and yes, it's quite flexible, but it doesn't materialize things out of nowhere. With traditional manufacturing methods remaining inexpensive, he pointed out, you might as well simply board that flight to Paris without your luggage, and just buy all of your items on the cheap when you arrived.
Great, thanks, Raphael. Perfect reading. Okay, so what does this guy Phil Reeves make a point about? Carlos, can you tell us? What's he saying?
Yes. Phil Reeves, managing director, has said that it's nothing very. I mean, it's not only press a button and getting a product. You cannot materialize everything. I mean, You um, but it's limited, like Rafael said,
Uh-huh.
because you can travel to Paris without your luggage, and there you can buy the items with
Yes,
this 3D printer.
absolutely. Thanks, Carlos. Great summary. So has anyone ever done this? Just gone somewhere and just bought the stuff they need when they get there, i.e. traveled without luggage?
Well, it's common here in my country. People do that when they travel to, especially United States, Miami, just to buy things there, because they are cheaper and they don't have to pay lots of taxes we pay here in Brazil. So it's common with people traveling without luggage and just buying buying things there.
Okay, that's interesting, Raphael. So people would just go to the USA with nothing and come back with lots of stuff.
Yes.
That sounds like a good holiday.
And it's
It's
not specifically a
actually,
holiday. Actually it's business because they buy things to sell here, with a cheap
yeah,
price. So
yeah, absolutely. I must admit, it does sound good to me. I really hate, as it said earlier, lugging around a heavy suitcase when I'm traveling. It sort of like just drags you down but generally, I mean, it costs a lot to buy all the stuff that I need. And what is the disadvantage of that? Because being a girl, I can think of quite a few disadvantages. I wonder if any of you guys can think of any disadvantages.
Teacher, La said that they were trying to reproduce organs and
Yes.
to help people. I mean, in the future.
Mm.
But what about food? Allah knows something about food, because starving is one problem in Africa.
Absolutely. Do you know anything about the food part of it, Allah, or the raspberry that was mentioned at the beginning?
No, really, I don't know, but I opened the link. I think it's real raspberry, and I think they use. Uh, I don't know for the food, but in medicine they use tissue, real tissue. So they are generating this tissue, then use it to shape or to cut it in the shape they want. So
I
first
see.
they make a tissue generation or like that culturing, and then cutting into these printers.
So in that case, first thing that comes into my mind is Frankenstein. But but obviously it's not quite the same as that. With regard to Carlos's question then, I guess you still need the food to put in, right? It's not like you can just print out lots of food. So it probably wouldn't really help, I'm thinking, Carlos. What do you think?
Mm, I don't know. For example, if 3D printer has uh, a lot of, has a lot of technology in the. How do you say? Is advanced? Too advanced?
Advanced.
I don't
Yeah.
know. In 50 years, and they can produce organs or everything with many materials. Why not food? And this way, you can produce your own food in the house.
Yes, you can print out dinner. Oh, that would be awesome, Carlos.
Yes.
It would be a bit like Star Trek, wouldn't it? Where you like type in what you want and open the door and hey presto. As long as it
really,
didn't take too long. Don't they have that in Star Trek? Maybe it's another one of those like space programs. Not that I'm a sci-fi fan, of course. Anyway, all right, let's continue reading. And we're up to Allah. And could you read here, but where, please?
But where 3D printing of the type Kaitanen envisions could be useful, Reeves said, is with more personalized items. Part of the advantage of 3D printing is the ability to make a variety of individually customized parts at a similar cost to making multiple identical replicas. For that reason, the healthcare industry has adopted 3D printing particularly quickly, with a January 2014 study with a January 2014 study by business data provider Vision Gain predicting that the industry will spend some 4 billion on the technology by 2018, up from 1.3 billion in 2013.
Excellent reading. Thank you, Ella. Really well read. Okay. Any questions about vocab? We understand all the words in here, everybody?
Ambitions?
Ambitions. Where is it?
In the first...
Here we go. Envisions. To envision is a verb. Can somebody explain this?
To have a vision?
Yes, exactly. It's sort of like what you imagine or what you have a vision about. So it's like you have this idea and then in your mind is a picture, and that's sort of like what it's something you're envisaging, okay? Anyone else? No? Okay. So this is kind of what we talked about before. Personalized items. I think this could be really handy, and it would be probably a great time and maybe not time, it depends how fast it was, but I think it would save a lot of money and save a lot of wastage, which kind of appeals to me. If you imagine like shopping for clothes, and you have to go through that whole process of seeing something you like and then seeing if they've got your size, and then if they have got your size, you have to try it on and see whether it's actually your size or whether it's like too big or the sleeves are too long, and then you have to maybe get it tailored to suit you. If you could buy jeans that are too long, you've got to have them taken up. Whereas in this kind of situation, I guess you could just go into a shop, choose something you like, and then have it printed according to your height and size, which is quite cool. Can anyone think of anything else that could be that they would enjoy about having personalized items printed? Nobody? I think it's a problem because I'm the only girl and I'm thinking a lot about shopping. Ala, have you got any ideas?
Maybe one can make a treasure from that if making jewelry, for example.
Mm-hmm. So individual customized jewelry?
Maybe.
Do you think that's an interesting idea? It just crosses my mind that one of the reasons that items are that some items are more expensive than others is sort of because of the effort or the skill that has gone into making them, right? And jewelry, I think, is probably one of these things. Not only are they made of precious materials, but they're kind of a lot of skill and effort is put into making them look beautiful. Do you think that this would be diminished, though, if we used 3D printing, Ala?
Yeah, I think if it's the same, you can make your design, you can make your shape. If the same idea everywhere or if in every items, I think it will save. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It will replace the handmaking, yes, the handmade.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think when new technology comes out, it's actually quite hard to imagine what the implications of it are because we've obviously never experienced it before. And it's hard to think of all the things that might happen as a result. Okay, Alejandro, if you can continue from these healthcare.
Okay. These healthcare related applications could one day be a boon for travelers who either have medical conditions or get into an accident overseas, rather than order a particular orthopedic orthopedic or splint from a manufacturer. For example, a hospital could instead access a patient's digital files and print the required item, item on the spot.
Well done, Alejandro. You had that word again, and you got it right this time. Um, this one is orthopedic. Orthopedic.
Orthopedic.
Yeah, that's tricky. It's those Latin-based sort of medical words. So, all right. Any questions about vocabulary?
What does boon mean?
Oh, good question, and I realised we should talk about orthopedic. A boon is like an advantage, basically, or something good. And does anyone know what orthopedic actually refers to?
Yeah, to studying. It's part of medicine that study bone and maybe broken bone and how to rehabilitation.
Yes, thank you, Ella. What a knowledgeable student we have today. You're helping us so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so orthopedic has to do with bones, basically, guys, and obviously it's medically related, yes. So orthopedics is one of the departments that you'll find in a hospital. Okay, let's continue reading. And Joseph, your turn.
Sorry,
Oh.
What does splint mean?
Oh, a splint. Anyone know?
Yeah, the appliance that you put on a broken arm or on a broken leg to until it recovers.
Yep, perfect. So it's sort of like a straight piece of material that keeps your arm or your leg or whatever you've broken in place so that it heals in the right shape, Raphael. Thank you, Ella. Okay. So Joseph from, of course. Whoops. Oh, yeah.
Of course, the technology could also be used for any bespoke item when traveling, not just one in medicine. Say you were a photographer and had a specific lens adapter and you broke it and couldn't get it ported. You could get one 3D printed, said Nick Allen, founder of London-based printing company 3D Print UK, whether the company would release the data for you to make that product is another kettle of fish. That
Excellent.
ability, okay,
Well done. Thanks, Joseph. That was great. This word here is bespoke.
bespoke.
What's another kettle of fish, guys? It's an idiom, because we're not actually talking about fish. I think that's quite clear.
I think it's something really difficult, difficult to obtain because he's talking about. Because in my opinion, companies would not release their data for, you create your tools based on their products. I think.
Yeah, that's very close, Raphael. You're right. You're inferring the right thing because he's questioning it. But actually, it's quite a neutral phrase. If you say that's another kettle of fish, what you mean is that's another whole topic, another story, some other big thing that we'd have to talk about separately. So because we're focused on sort of the benefits of 3D printing, we haven't discussed this issue, but because it's such a huge, very, very important issue, he said it's another kettle of fish, i.e. you'd have to think about that separately. Do you understand? Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So, good point. Let's talk about it for a moment. Raphael reckons that companies would not release their data, and I can say I probably agree with that. However, could they not, maybe things would change, and instead of selling the product, they'd simply sell the data. What do you think about that, guys? Is that likely? Would that work?
No,
Thanks, Raphael. Please explain.
because they will sell they're practically selling their secrets,
Yeah.
about their products. So
Mhm.
they won't do that. In the we live in the capitalism, so it's really impossible, in my opinion. They even consider the hypothetical possibility of they doing this.
Is a little bit ridiculous.
I think so.
I have to admit, it does sound ridiculous to me. However, it seems also that technology, has sort of there have been other industries that have been heavily affected by, say, the internet, right? And I've thought, how are we going to get around this? For example, newspapers. So you can log on to any big newspaper now and basically read their entire journalism for free on the internet. When you used to have to buy something like a newspaper. And we seem to be getting around it okay with other sort of techniques. I'm wondering whether this could maybe happen here. I can't think of any way to do it, but then again, I don't have the best brain in the world, so maybe somebody with a better brain could. Who knows? But it certainly seems a bit strange when you talk about it at the moment. Does anyone else want to comment before we carry on reading? I just want to ask Allah another question. Allah, you mentioned that instead of going to a technician to print to get your crowns, you now print them out. So obviously, to me, that means technicians are no longer needed. Is that true?
Maybe in the future, but now still there's challenge in price, and if the same thing, maybe sometimes we use more than one material. Maybe, for example, a metal and porcelain facing. So here you can't do this. You can do only straight, only porcelain or ceramic, only one type. Yes. So if you need other types or mixed types, more than one material, it's for the technician. But it's for in big instances, if it becomes cheaper, maybe every dentist maybe will have it in the future. But still now it's only in the elite centers or clinics only.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, thanks for
And
explaining
and
that.
and some technicians now are using these, even technicians.
Okay.
They bought the programs and the machines and they use it because it's very it give you the exact thing as you prepare it or as you design it. So it's better than the
All
handmade.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Sort of like they're using it to help them, but then they're kind of making it better or customizing it afterwards, maybe. Okay. Raphael, it must be your turn, I think.
That ability to print files as you need, then, is exactly the kind of usage Kitanen and other proponents envision. I'm not suggesting that people suddenly print shampoo, Kitanen said, but maybe you get your body scanned in the airport, land on the other side, and you have perfectly fitting shoes waiting there.
Thank you, Raphael. This one here is proponents.
Proponents.
Yes. What does proponents mean? Anybody? Or can anybody guess?
People who propose an idea.
Yeah, exactly. So basically the people who are in favor of this particular thing that we're talking about. Or sort of like think of the good side of it rather than it being against it. This makes me laugh because I don't know about you, but certainly the countries I travel between always make you take off your shoes at the airport, and it really gets annoying because every time you feel it, you have to sort of undress. So maybe you could just travel without shoes and get some when you arrive. I don't know. Sounds possible.
Women love shoes.
That's probably true, Raphael. I think we like them more than men for some reason. All right, Allah, we've got a long paragraph here, so we'll get you to read about half of it, and then I'll stop you, okay?
Okay. While that remains years or decades in the future, 3D printing is already affecting travelers in other, less obvious ways. The most significant may be noticed by the fewest travelers. Many new planes manufactured today use 3D printing for at least some of their components. Airbus, for example, announced in March that its next generation A350 XWB is using a handful of 3D printed components. Part of the technology's draw is that 3D printing can lower manufacturing costs, since for companies like Airbus it requires fewer tools and prototypes to create a final series of parts.
Thank you. Allah,
Furthermore,
if you can pause there, and there's a lot to take in, so we'll just look at your half and then we'll carry on. Is there any questions about vocab, guys? Can anyone explain to me what this part here means? Part of the technology's draw. What's another way of saying that?
advantage?
Yeah, advantage is pretty much it. So if something draws you, it means it's like pulling you in. It's attracting you. So the draw to something is what attracts you about it. And here, this is sort of like the opposite of what you've been saying, Allah, but I suppose it really depends on the industry and also, you know, how much stuff you have to make. Because according to this, you know, Airbus is making the most of it because it's less complicated, I guess. But with dentistry, it's not the same.
Yeah, and it's a huge manufacturing company, Airbus.
Yes, so it probably uses the economies of scale principle. And I imagine because dentistry is so, you know, everybody's different, so you've got to make each tooth separately, sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Alejandro, could you carry on from furthermore, please?
Okay. Furthermore, industry experts like Alan noted traditional manufacturing usually entails either cutting from a solid block or casting from a mold. With 3D printing, it is easier to create hollow or complicated items with less waste. Parts will up weighing less and requiring fewer raw materials. Airbus found their 3D printed parts weighed 30% to 55% less and used 19% less material than their traditional counterparts, significantly decreasing the energy consumption or the manufacturing process, not to mention making planes themselves lighter and decreasing fuel consumption. Whether those cost savings trickle down to air passengers, however, is anyone's guess.
Well done, Alejandro. That was a tricky one. This here is to wind up. Parts wind up. think I was talking about this with Raphael not long ago. Wind up or end up. Raphael, here's a test for you. Can you explain what that means? He hates me.
Let's see if I remember. When you wind up, it means that the end in something as a result.
Absolutely. Well done. That's absolutely right. So at the end of some kind of circumstance or story, yeah, you end up or you wind up doing something. So at the end of this whole process, the parts weigh less and require fewer raw materials. Well done, Raphael. And then one more, Alejandro, is this one, weighing less.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that is mean.
Do you just want to repeat the word just for the pronunciation? Weighing.
Weighing.
Yeah, that's better. And what does to weigh mean? Anybody know?
The weight, and less weight.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
Are lighter.
To weigh less means to be lighter, exactly. Less heavy.
Oh, okay.
So that's quite important for aeroplanes. Not so important for teeth. So I'm guessing really the industry is which we're talking about is sort of a big player. How about we read this last paragraph before we go, just so that we can finish this off. So Joseph, could you take in the meantime, please? Are you there, Joseph? No? Okay, Raphael, it's yours.
In the meantime, creative minds like Kitanen are looking forward to the time when you can, in fact, lose your luggage and print it all out at your destination, right to your specifications. It may be a few years in the future, but it might not be as far off as people think. It took us only 10 years to wire the entire planet with broadband internet. Kitanen said, it's inevitable that it's going to happen.
Well done. Great. Thanks, guys. All right, so we've had a good discussion today and some fantastic reading from all of you with some slightly tricky words. If you'd like to practice your writing, I've got a writing class next, so I'm going to be looking at persuasive writing. So do come and join me if you would like to. Other than that, I hope to see you all soon and have a great evening.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, Amy.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
In the week. I'm guessing that you can hear me okay, Amari, right?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh no. This is the opposite to what happened before. Okay, I'm going to say, can anyone else just take off their mute and say hi to me and see if I can hear you?
Hello, Amy.
No. This is good.
Yes, I can hear everybody.
Alejandro, can you just say hi to me?
Yes, I can.
Me too.
Alright, guys, I'm going to have to do what I did before. I'm really sorry. I'm going to leave the class and come back and hope that works like it did last time. I will be right back. Please bear with me.
Hello?
Hello and welcome everybody. This is a verbing class. My name is Teacher Amy and today's class is a reading class. So if you would like to come and practice your reading or pronunciation and learn some new vocab, our topic today is 3D printing and how it might relate to travel in the future. So travel is something I think that we probably all think about because we're learning another language. And 3D printing is something, it's kind of interesting new technology which has the ability to change quite a lot of stuff. So it's an interesting article. Come on in with us and practice your pronunciation, reading, and improve your vocab. Before we get started, let's take a look at some pages that can help you and get more out of your time with Verbling. So the first one here is my Facebook page. You can click on that and go and connect with me informally. You can have the teachers from Verbling status updates appear in your Facebook news feed, so you can keep your eye on English learning all the time. And if you want to find out a little bit more about a particular teacher,
Alejandro, the teacher will be back soon.
Yes, she has.
Yes, yes.
or a little bit more about how the teachers' schedules or what's going on really, then do check out the Teacher Verbling teacher pages. So the link to my one is there for you in the chat box, and if you go ahead and check that out, what you'll find is the schedules. So that's class upcoming classes and also private tutoring sessions. Go ahead and check those out if you want to. Write us a message if you have any questions. There's lots of stuff on there, so it's worth taking a look if you have time. Okay, let's see who we've got this morning or this evening, depending on where you are, to talk about 3D printing with us. And I better say hi to Amari first, because you were here before anyone else. How are you?
Yes, teacher, I'm fine, and thank you for asking. You?
Oh, and I can't hear you, Amari. Have you unmuted your mic? Don't tell me I've got to have...
Sorry,
Oh,
can
dear.
you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Let me just... My settings are okay. This strange thing happened to me last week. Nope. Earlier.
Okay, I'm back. I'm wondering if anyone can hear me and if I can hear you guys. So, let's say hi to Carlos. Are you there, Carlos?
Hi, hi.
Yay, I can hear you. Honestly, I don't know what's going on with this, guys. I've had a weird week of technology. I'm so sorry. I refresh all my stuff before I start the class, but I don't know what goes on. But anyway, welcome to class, Carlos. How are you doing?